Welcome to Generation Inspired, exploring the people and ideas shaping tomorrow. I always looked for the odd one out in the class. And I would always go out of my way. And you'd find that suddenly you give that type of child the opportunity to step out of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And you support them to do that. And
in a safe way.
In a safe way, then they will thrive. And I've had the shyest girls in the class put themselves forward in the pitch-off to pitch off the idea in front of judges. You know, and the teachers are mind blown. It's just that normal school doesn't create that environment where we are encouraging kids to do that in that safe space.
Exactly. And a lot of the time I found kids are kind of forced into something. So an example being with my son, they saw what was actually a really nice thing, that he had the ability to do debating. But instead of inviting him, he was told he was doing it. And so from the beginning, it was, well, I don't want to do this. Pressure. And what if I'm not good at it? And why am I being put into this group that I didn't even get to choose? And yeah, he excelled. And luckily he had such a great group and people he would normally not work with, which I was super chuffed about, because how often do you actually get put specifically with people that you normally wouldn't work with in school? And it turned out to be a good story, but you ask him now, will you do debating this year? Because he had a great time. His answer is no, because it's not an invitation.
Yes. We force kids into doing things, don't we?
If you invite, if you offer opportunities, kids will say yes.
Because they're naturally curious. Yeah. They love to learn. And all they need is the feeling of support around them, I think. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, going down this route of looking into education, I feel like there are a couple of really amazing examples of schools or learning academies that are doing things really differently. And I've looked into some of these to say, like, can I bring what you're doing to Australia? Alpha Schools is one for anyone that hasn't looked into Alpha School.
Take a look.
Yeah, in the US. I mean, some of the things happening in the US are just so cool and tick all the boxes that we're talking about here that as a parent we want our kids to be in. But unfortunately, Australia is so different and it's so legislated, which again is one of the problems. Everything that is in a box.
Fit it. Or don't. Success could look different for everyone if they had the opportunity to learn in a way that was right for them.
Absolutely. There isn't a one-size-fits-all.
Not at all.
We need to be able to teach and tailor learning for the child. Absolutely. If you could design education, what would that look like?
Well,
where do we start?
That's the thing. Where do I start with this? The main thing is identifying the skills, as we've spoken about, you know, prior to this. What skills are life skills? What skills are soft skills? And it doesn't have to be a continuation for all of time either. It doesn't have to be a year prep to year 12 thing, but instead I love the idea of projects. You know, most people that I've spoken to, whether they're kids or adults, love a tangible outcome. And so if we could make learning a lot more tangible, I think that would make a huge difference. And the fact that, you know, life changes, work evolves, entrepreneurship changes, so therefore education should change too. So I think it needs to be an evolution of learning. I think that, as we said, the entrepreneurial skills are really important, even if they're never going to be that. Because if I think about what I do and what I've achieved, it's come down to those skills, really. Even to be able to have a conversation with someone is a skill that I don't think is taught. And having a genuine curiosity for something that's different or another way of and perspective, I think is really important. I think the emotional or the EQ
absolutely
is missing. And I want an education system that really focuses on that. I think that, you know, AI is here It's going to be here. It's going to be here for
going
it's not,
anywhere.
no. Let's leverage that. I know that
get
leverage
excited.
is a word that everyone's like buzzword, but we can leverage it for our life skills, for, different outcomes to create things. It can be really practical, but it can also teach us as well.
Absolutely.
Because like an example being a friend of mine, and this isn't a kid, this is an adult, creates an AI companion to help them get their work done because they know that they procrastinate, or it's this thing that like it feels too overwhelming to complete everything and they've got a really serious job. And this actually lets them kick goals. I want people to really thrive. And I don't think we're thriving at the moment. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, again, I could probably go on forever about this, but I think even like the really simple things, like to me, this notion of someone stood at the front of the classroom delivering information from a textbook is really crazy. I would love this freedom. I love spaces that could be different age groups. So all of a sudden you've got people stepping into natural leadership roles and children becoming curious and asking questions and the ability to learn all together, almost like in a co-working space. You know? You can't choose the age group you're suddenly going to start work with when you finish uni. All of a sudden, you're out of university or school and you're with all different ages and you've never been taught that, which I feel like is really important. And I love, project-based learning. I have seen so many good examples of this, again, in different countries, where for an entire term it's a project. It could be, start your own business over a term. It can be make a movie, design a game, where we're ticking off all the points of the curriculum: English, maths, science, design, technology in one project, but it's more fun and it's hands-on. And for me, learning is around giving kids the opportunity to make the mistakes.
Yes.
Build resilience themselves. I want to put my kids in challenging situations and I want to allow them to fall flat on their face and build themselves back up, because then they create real confidence and belief inside, because that can't be forced on a child. Can it?
No, I can't. You cannot.
And actually, a few years back, I had the pleasure of taking my children to Cambodia, where I ran an entrepreneurial program. And I had no idea how they were going to go. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. So this could be a disaster. I'm going to throw my 2 young children, primary school age, into an environment with 15 to 21-year-olds.
Wow.
Probably 12 to 21, let's say. And they're going to be out on the streets in a non-speaking environment with a product, negotiating and trying to sell.
Nice.
What the hell?
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? And it was astonishing.
Yeah.
Because what I saw happen, especially with my son, he was in a group of kids, say 20 kids, and they had a product and they were out there in a really busy, bustling kind of market area. And really quickly, without any language being able to be spoken between them both, they figured out a system. And what happened was my son realised that he'd be the best person to go and try and stop people. Number one, because he looked different.
Yes.
And he couldn't speak. So people would naturally stop because they'd be like, well, what the hell's this kid want?
What's he saying?
So what happened was he was sent out and he was stopping people like, hey, how are you? And then the person would turn around and stop, and then the Cambodian kids would jump in and start the pitch.
Nice.
And they ended up winning the challenge. And they profited $420 in 2 hours of work.
Wow.
So that to me was that environment where allow them to work it out themselves. You will be, you'll just see the most amazing, wondrous things. So that type of environment for me would be the best.
I love that. It reminds me of something a dear friend of mine said to me, which is we've got such negative language around learning as well, or even about failure. And that is trial and error. How's that positive? What about test and measure? Even those little words have such a different way of viewing something. My biggest failures have been my biggest successes in the end.
Yes.
And I think we make it so scary, and it doesn't need to be. And it forms resilience without having to teach resilience. And who can really teach resilience? You got to live it.
You do. Yeah. And I think aside from this, the real kind of general life skills stuff, I want to know that my son can build a wardrobe.
Yes.
I know that sounds really stupid. the things that they can actually go and use, the practical things. And these are the things actually that AI are not going to be able to do for a while.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing reports of like the best type of job to go into now would be the hands-on, the plumbing, the electrician, all of the vocational skill type of stuff is really what's going to be needed more than lawyers or,
Yeah.
or even doctors.
Absolutely.
I went to the doctors a few times over the last few months and they look on Google for the answer.
Yeah, I've had that happen. I have more and more, actually. I'm like, okay,
so I'm like,
so I can Google my symptoms.
Why did I waste my money? This is crazy. So the world is changing.
It absolutely is.
Oh, dear. So is there anything else you want to add to this conversation?
Not at this stage, because what I really want to do is invite people to contribute their ideas, to give their stories, to let us know what is it that you're struggling with or what questions do you have? Because we can talk about it forever if you can't tell. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important because out there in the world, from what I've discovered, there are so many parents that are just really needing help.
Yeah.
There's crisis, there's huge rise of anxiety, this struggle at school, this cramming in, and we're also seeing huge issues with teachers. The teachers are under stress.
I really feel for them.
Exhausted. So no wonder if you've got an exhausted teacher going into a classroom and teaching your child and it's not the best outcome, do you wonder why? So there's so many layers of issues out there. And the thing is, we won't be able to come up with a solution until we know, what you think. We need your involvement in that. And
Absolutely.
we would also love you to come along for the ride because we're not going to be playing it small here with tomorrow.
Nope.
We are going all out to find a solution. And we are hoping that if it's a solution for our kids, it'll also be a solution for yours. So it is important. Please join the movement and come along for the ride. Join in the conversation. Head to the show notes because we'll put all of the links there and please fill out the survey. It literally takes 5 minutes. And then for the rest of this podcast, you're going to be in front of, or you're going to hear real stories. We're going to bring in the experts, the people that have lived a different life. Life's not the ones with the good grades. The ones that actually have gone down a different path and have come out and have survived and have come along with an amazing, inspiring story of success in all the different forms that success comes in. And we're going to just explore ideas. What could the future of learning actually look like? It's going to be fun. It's going to be raw. It's going to be real. So thank you so much for tuning in for our first episode. You will hear from myself and Laura lots more in lots of different forms moving forward.
Cannot wait.
Thank you so much again. We'll speak to you next time.